Good afternoon. Welcome to the GDI Consulting's webinar on the SOF GSD Global Services Delivery opportunity. My name is Cal and I am your artificial intelligence host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDI Consulting and a subject matter expert on these opportunities. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to Washington Technology and other online GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and Apex, previously PTAC, offices throughout the U.S. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first have a quick glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities. Then, a little bit of a background on the SOF GSD program. After that, Ab will discuss the general details of the SOF GSD opportunity and its scope of work. Next will come a detailed discussion of the scoring system and its 4 subfactors. Ab will also touch on the subject of teaming and partnering, as well as how pricing works for this IDIQ submission. Then Ab will discuss the source selection process, and finally he will open the floor for questions. So, with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to first give a short glimpse on GDI Consulting's capabilities.
Hello everyone, and thank you for participating in our webinar. As this is a self-scoring webinar, we have a lot to cover, a lot about the scoring system. So I might be going a little bit too fast. That's why, as Cal mentioned, it's better if you can actually download the presentation slide deck to refer back to it. And if you have any problems in downloading it, please just put your request on the chat system and we'll send it to you by email. Okay, so very quickly, let me go over the GDI Consulting's capabilities. For those of you who are new to our webinar, I promise to be very quick on this. So GDI Consulting is a metrics-driven partner with over 15 years of solid performance in the government space. Our average win rate over the past 3 years has been 81% across all proposals, but when it comes to self-scoring proposals, such as this one, that is 98%. Recently, Oasis Plus awardees were announced, and out of the 98 companies that were our clients, 97 of them, that is 98% in fact, 97 of them were awarded. So in 2024 alone, we helped clients win 289 multi-million-dollar proposals, totaling over $19.6 billion in awarded contracts. So you can review this slide later for more facts on our company, and I will skip the rest of the information on that. Now, as far as our services are concerned, we have 4 major services that we provide: proposal development, capture management, support services, and training. In proposal development, we do eligibility and score assessment, full task order or standalone proposal support, IDIQ, BPA, and GWAC proposal support, including self-scoring types such as this one. Review services for those of you who have in-house teams, and then staff augmentation if you're missing a specific staff that you need our support for. In terms of capture management, we do both strategic and short-term dedicated capture management and sourcing and qualification. We also have special capture services for Oasis Plus, GSA Mass, Seaport, task orders, and similar contracts that are IDIQs or GWACs, and we support the awardees on their task orders. And finally, we have our dedicated AI-based Capture Edge platform for capture, which helps you find, source, manage, and follow the capture process for all the opportunities, including your funnel. Okay, as far as support services, we provide CMMC support for, especially for DoD companies working with DoD agencies, and CMMC is one of the important issues in 2025 and going into 2026. You need to have that. We also provide accounting support for those companies who need DCAA or DCMA audit. We help them prepare for that. Price to win, competitive intel, and black hat exercises are also included in our support services. And finally, training, proposal, and capture management training. These days, actually, today, in fact, we are having our 6-hour self-scoring advanced training, 2 hours per day for 3 days, and we are repeating that each month. So if you're interested in that, you can contact me for that as well. So that was our services. Now, as far as what services we provide for SOF GSD specifically, we provide free consultation, pre-qualification assessment, full proposal development once you decide to go for it, in which it includes score assessment and optimization. This is a self-scoring type, full proposal assembly, cradle to grave, and multiple compliance checks. Now, if you're doing it in-house, we also provide reviewing and auditing. We do 2 rounds of compliance checks and score optimization checks to make sure that your prepared proposal is going to be a winner. Okay, so let's start the presentation on the SOF GSD and start with the history of this program. So it began as SOF Core Services Support IDIQ, awarded in May 2020. It's designed to deliver knowledge-based, non-personal services to support USSOCOM missions, and had 39 awardees. So with a ceiling of $950 million and these awardees, the contract spanned all major components of the SOF, supporting everything from training and planning to administrative and technical services in both US and forward deployed environments. Now, although the original contract was set to run through 2030, SOCOM found that operational needs were evolving faster than the contract structure could support, in fact. So they needed more flexibility, higher standards, and faster mobilization. This prompted this early recompete. Otherwise, this should be, for 2030. So the new SOF GSD contract will be bigger, more selective, and more competitive. And it's a value of $3.2 billion, the budget for it. And it's based on a self-scoring framework to reward high-performing firms, those with good past performance and experience. So the spending trajectory of SOF GSD shows how rapidly USSOCOM expanded reliance on this contract. So from around $13 million in 2021, it's $160 million in 2024. This reflects not only increasing operational needs, but also confidence in the IDIQ framework itself. And obviously, fiscal year 25 is in progress, but it seems that it's going to be going upward in this trend. So, this list is the top winners or top performance of the current ongoing SOF GSD. These 10 companies, they have received between 25 million to 125 million in the total obligation to them. So these are the main contenders, so to say. So now let's give some general information on the SOF GSD opportunity itself, the new one. So this recompete of the SOF Core Services Program, now branded as SOF GSD or Global Services Delivery, is designed as a 10-year vehicle with a projected ceiling of $3.2 billion. It will be awarded to 15 small business. Okay, it's not for large business, small business, under NAICS code 541611, focusing on administrative, professional, and technical services for SOF mission worldwide. And the performance period includes a 5-year base and a 5-year option. Okay, now the procurement timeline includes the solicitation release expected in July 2025, we have to see, and awards projected for early 2026. Now, it's good that it's July 2025 because as we go through the scoring system, you'll see that, especially if you have many contracts, this is a highly intensive document management type submission. So you have to do a lot of work on your contracts to come up with the best 5. We'll see, you're supposed to provide 5 contracts. You need to get to that 5 contracts so that you have the highest score, because their system is called highest technical rated offerer, HTRO, and it's essentially based on who gets the highest score. There are 3 volumes to this. First volume, administrative and responsibility docs, the usual documents that go on with any submission. Volume 2 is the most important, which is the self-scoring technical volume. There's no writing involved per se. It's all about document management, scoring yourself. And volume 3, you provide pricing for different types of contracts, FFPs, TNM, CPFF, and LH. And right now we are at the pre-solicitation draft RFP stage. The latest draft RFP release was in May 2025. So what I'm going to provide to you in this webinar are fairly new. Everything that was released by the government in May 2025. Okay, now to be eligible, your firm must qualify as a small business under NAICS 541611. It doesn't matter if you're large under other NAICS, but you must be small, which means $24.5 million standard annual receipt under that NAICS for the past 5 years average. And you must provide 5, obviously, as I mentioned, relevant work samples, and we'll go into the details of those, in which one of them must be yours as prime. So even though you are allowed to provide subcontracts, your own subcontracts, at least one of your contracts, one of those 5 must be a prime contract that you received from the government. So if you're one of those small businesses that only work as subcontractor, this submission is not for you. At least one of your contracts must be a prime federal contract. Okay, you will need an active or pending top security facility clearance. That's another stopper for many companies. So you do need a top secret facility clearance, either active or in the process of getting it. You know, you have to have applied for it. And then there are the usual. You must provide a compliant organizational conflict of interest mitigation plan, and you must understand that you may not cross-team or appear on multiple offers. I'll go into the teaming and partnering later on, but just have to make sure that. So these are the most important factors or eligibility criteria. You need to be small under NAICS 541611. One of your contracts must be a prime federal contract. And finally, you need to have top secret facility clearance or have applied for it. These are the most important criteria, whether, you know, in a go, no go, whether you should go after this or not. Okay, let's now look into the scope of the SOF GSD opportunity. So the USSOCOM is buying professional and mission support services for its entire enterprise to support its HQ and component commands, both CONUS and OCONUS. Now, the task areas include these 6 areas: education and training, management support, program management, engineering and technical services, intelligence and professional services, administrative and other services. So these are all that are included in the task orders or task areas. Now, I've listed a little bit more detail about each of these. I will not read off of these. You can always refer back to this for these 6 different task areas or service areas. Okay, so now let's go into the scoring system, which is the main part of this webinar, what you should understand once you have decided to go for this, having had the minimum qualifications, as I mentioned. You really need to understand how the scoring system works for this opportunity. As I said, this is a self-scoring opportunity. There are no writing is involved, essentially. Everything is about what you have done previously, the performance of your work, the experience, and so on and so forth, using 5 contracts. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, so let's deep dive into the scoring system now. So, some key concepts. You're supposed to provide 5, they call it work samples, essentially means contracts. 5 contracts with the necessary documents to substantiate your scoring. Each sample or contract is self-scored based on the HTRO matrix. I'll come back to that. That's attachment 6 on the RFP documents. You can always open it up. It's a little bit confusing. I've tried to simplify it here on this webinar. It's an Excel sheet, that attachment 6. You can take a look at it. Now, the total maximum score is 37,650 points. However, it's not calculated that way. There are 4 main factors, and we'll go into the details of these. The first one, general score factor, is mandatory. The other factors, you need to go for 1 at the minimum, but you don't have to go for all of them. However, if you want to have the maximum points to be selected, it's essentially better to have to go for all of them. So that's how it works. And we'll go into the details of each of those. And then scores will be validated by the government. And you have to make sure that you don't make mistakes such as lack of evidence. You score yourself but don't provide evidence. Ambiguities, misleading claims, false scoring, that sort of thing will turn into a disqualification. So make sure that you don't have a problem there. Now, what are the requirements for the work samples? Meaning the contracts. So what are the minimum requirements for contracts? What type of contracts can you bring to the table? The contracts can be standalone contracts or task orders under IDIQs or BPAs. Now, the contracts must be federal contracts. They must come from federal agencies. Okay, so you cannot use contracts with commercial agencies. You cannot use state and local contracts. They must come from federal agencies. You can provide, as I mentioned, that you can provide task orders under an IDIQ, BPA. An IDIQ or BPA by itself cannot be used unless there is a special case in which you take one IDIQ or BPA and all of its task orders as one contract. Then it's considered as one contract. Now, just understand that if you do that, then you can't separately use one of the task orders as a second contract. The completion date of the contract must be within the last 5 years from the date of the RFP release. Say if it's June or July of 2025, Then it has to be July of 2020 after that date for it to be acceptable. Now, at least one of the contracts must be a prime contract performed by you as the prime. So we'll go into the teaming and partnering later on, but one of the contracts at least must come from you, and it must be a prime contract. It cannot be a subcontract that you performed. Even though you are prime, it has to be a prime contract, one of the 5. The other 4, they don't have to be like that. So they can be subcontracts that you perform towards federal contracts, obviously, not towards a commercial contract. So a subcontract towards a federal contract, as well as contracts that your partners, your subcontractors, bring to the table. And currently, there's no minimum value set for the contract. So they haven't said that, say, the contract must be over $2 million, over $10 million, anything like that. So nothing set on that yet. We'll see once the full RFP drops. Now, there is a tiering system, and the RFP mentions them. I just wanted you to understand. So there are Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 contracts. Tier 1 contracts means the primes, when you're a prime contracts. Now, Tier 2 are your primes subcontracts. Those are considered Tier 2 contracts. When it's a subcontract to another prime towards a federal contract, again, underscored federal contract. Now, Tier 3 are subcontractors, prime or subcontract contracts. So you can have a subcontractor in this submission, and you can use their contracts. Now, that contract that they bring to the table can be a prime contract to the government, or it can be a subcontract to another company. They can use that as well. So that's Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Now, we'll go into the sub-factors and how the scoring works. They call the sub-factors categories, and we'll go into the details of that. But there are some limitations as to which contracts can be used for what category. So categories 1, 3, 7, and we'll see them in detail later. You can only use Tier 1 contracts, meaning that you can only get points under category 1, 3, and 7 if you're using your own prime contract. For categories 2, 5, 6, it doesn't matter which of those tiers, whether it's your contract, prime contract, your subcontract, or your subcontractor's prime or subcontract contract. And then, sorry about so many subcontracts. And then category 4 is either Tier 1 or Tier 3. So it can be your prime contract or your subcontractor's prime contract for category 4. And we'll go into the categories in a minute. Okay, I did mention there are 4 major score factors. So the general score factor is 13,700 points. This is mandatory, so you have to actually have contracts that can get the maximum out of this. Now, for education, exercise, and intelligence, you can go just for one. That's acceptable. But if you want to have more points, it's better to have, all of them. But education score factor is 7,400, exercise score factor 6,800, and intelligence score factor 9,750. And you can see them compared to each other in this bar graph. Okay. Let's now discuss the GSD scoring system, which is essentially the main part. The general score factor, is the main part of the score because this is mandatory. The general score factor is mandatory, and your 5 contracts should cover it. So there are 8 categories used here. These are called sub-factors. They call the sub-factors as category. Category 1 is essentially your job is to demonstrate 5 contracts, 5 past performances that match these metrics. These are essentially metrics that the government is going to review your submission with. How many people you deployed, the locations, CONUS or CONUS locations, how fast you filled the roles, how wide your footprint was in terms of TS/SCI cleared FTEs, how many mission areas your work covered, and the LCATs and the retention. So all of these are issues that you can get scores for. Now, category 8, which says deductible points for marginal unsatisfactory rating, is used only if you have a marginal or unsatisfactory rating in your past performance, in your CPAR, which will be deducted from your score. If you have an marginal rating, 500 points is deducted. If you have an unsatisfactory rating, 2,000 points is deducted. So when selecting contracts, again, this is one of the factors you have to make sure that you will not lose, because maybe everything else is good, but for some reason you have an unsatisfactory CPAR, one of the ratings in the CPAR is unsatisfactory, automatically you lose 2,000 points for that. So this is something to consider. Now, when picking those 5 contracts, you have to see and juggle these around the contracts to find out which 5 contracts out of 10, 20, 30 contracts that you might have will give you the highest score based on all these different criteria. Because sometimes you might get you have a contract that has 200 people on it. So on category 1, you get the 1,000 points. But none of them were, for example, people with FTEs with TS/SCI cleared, so you lose that 1,500 points. Or the LCATs were all the same. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. So you don't get any points on the category 5. So you have to juggle around with these numbers for each contract to come up with the best score. That's why I said this is a very highly intensive, it's a highly intensive document management submission. So a lot of work needs to be done, especially if you have, you might have just 5 contracts. In that case, you're stuck with them. But if you have 15, 20, 30 contracts, and remember, there's no minimum value. So even small contracts you can, bring to the table, they might get you a high score. So that, that makes things very hard. You might have to go over 50 different contracts to consider which ones will give you the highest score. Okay, now we are considering the general score point, one of the 4 major score factors. It's called general score. Maximum is 13,700, and you can see how it scores in the different categories. So the largest one is category 5, labor categories, LCATs covered. I'll go into the details of each of them in the next slides. So let's start with category 1, total positions on one contract. So this category rewards the size and complexity of your workforce. The more personnel you deployed under a single contract, the higher the points you can claim for that contract. Maximum points is 1,000 points, 20 points per employee with a maximum of 50 employees. So if you if you have 50 employees times 20, you get 1,000 points. And you can only use one contract here. That's why this 1,000 points is not multiplied by 5. It's just one contract. At that one contract must be a tier 1, meaning it's assuming you're the prime contract with the federal government. One contract. So you must pick that contract with the largest workforce in it. I'm not considering the other criteria, just for this one. For this 1,000 points maximum, you need to go for the contract that has the largest workforce in it. That's how you can get the highest score under this one. Now, in terms of the documents that you're supposed to provide, things like contract staffing reports or CDRLs, task order performance reports, government verified headcounts, those things can actually help you prove that it's justifiable to claim that score. And there are disqualifiers, are unverifiable numbers, ranges without backup, giving ranges, inflated headcounts using subcontractor rosters without context, and all those things, or saying team of approximately 50, and these will not get you the score. So you have to be careful about that. Now, the second category, which is geographical location, CONUS or OCONUS, site diversity, this measures the breadth of performance across different geographical locations. Now, scoring is based on CONUS, meaning locations within US, OCONUS 1, I've called it 1, this is my naming convention, countries other than Germany and Korea, and then OCONUS 2, Germany and Korea. They want specifically, they give you more points for Germany and Korea. The maximum points for this category is 1750, but it's calculated like this. If your sites are within US, you get 10 points per site. Now, each contract can have a maximum of 5 different locations, 5 sites they call it. So maximum for this is 5 contracts times 5 locations times 10 points per location. You get 250 points max on this. For OCONUS 1, you get 20 points. So 5 contracts times 5 locations times 20, you get 500 points max. OCONUS 2, 40 points per site. So if it's Germany and Korea, 40 points per site. Now, max 5 sites again. So 5 times 5 times 40 is 1,000 points. Now, 2 notes. First note is obviously your contract might be a mixture of these. So you might have a contract that has 1 site within US and 4 sites outside US. Or you might have 1 contract that is fully within US, 1 contract that is fully in Germany and Korea, that sort of thing. So you'll have to calculate it, but based on these formulas. Now, there is a discrepancy in the scoring matrix because they have added all these together, saying the maximum point is 1,750, whereas if you are, for example, take the CONUS case, say you have 5 contracts, all of them are in CONUS, and each of them are 5 sites. So 5 times 5 times 10 is 250 points. If that's the case, you cannot claim the other OCONUS 1 and OCONUS 2 because you've spent all 5 contracts. Even the same for the highest scoring one, which is OCONUS 2. You have 5 contracts, all of them are in Germany and Korea, you get 1,000 points. If that's the case, you don't have any more contracts to spend for OCONUS 1 and CONUS. So essentially, I think they have made a mistake, and the scoring will be maximum 1,000 point, which is for OCONUS 2. That's the maximum you can get, not 1750, but we'll have to see in the final draft. Okay, let's move forward. Obviously, documents you would need, task order documents showing place of performance, deployment rosters by site, maps, travel logs, or DoD installation references, and that sort of thing. Okay, let's go into category 3, speed of mobilization. So this measures your readiness, so to say, evaluates your ability to rapidly mobilize staff post-award. Only applies to 1, that means 1 contract out of 5, tier 1 work sample. Tier 1, if you remember, was your, as prime federal contract. So only prime federal contract can be used here, and only 1 contract. Maximum points is 2,000 points. The exact requirement is the percentage of awarded billets hired or transitioned onto the contract within the first 30 days of the contract. So if you brought in more people after the first 30 days, they don't count. So the exact requirement is the percentage of awarded billets hired or transitioned onto the contract within the 30 days of the contract. Minimum is 25 billets. You receive 20 points per percentage. So if there are 100 billets, 100 times 20 comes to a maximum of 2,000 points. So the maximum staff that you could have brought, billets that you can have brought, is 100 people within those 30 days. If you bring in 100 people, you get the full maximum 2,000 points for that specific contract. So you have to again look for which contract has that or will give you the highest score in terms of starting with the largest number of people on it within the first 30 days. Okay, and to prove it, evidence, staffing tracker with dates of onboarding, PMO reports on contracting officers, letters confirming mobilization, performance reviews confirming 100% fill rates, and that sort of things. Make sure that you don't make a mistake. No timeline documentation, you don't provide that. You provide hired personnel outside of the 30-day window, or lack of clarity on the total number of billets versus filled billets. Okay, moving forward, category 4, cleared personnel deployment. So the max points here, I should say this category rewards the contractor that can deliver a highly cleared workforce. That's what they're looking for, highly cleared workforce. It's essential for supporting sensitive missions, obviously, by the USSOCOM. They must be fully cleared, active SCI staff assigned to the contract. Maximum points 1,500. Again, only one contract, but it can be tier 1 or tier 3. In other words, it can be your prime federal contract or your subcontractor's prime federal contract. Both of them are acceptable. And then the way you get points is you receive 15 points per FTE for a maximum of 100 FTEs. So if you had 100 people with TSSCI clearance in one contract, you would get the full score, which is 1,500 points. So that's category 4 requirements. And again, the documentation to prove it, DD 254s with clearance level requirements, roster with clearance status and work locations, core or security office verification letters, all of those are acceptable. Red flags are claims without clearance levels, staff with interim or expired clearances, FTEs not clearly linked to the work sample. Okay, let's go to category 5 now. This category reflects the technical diversity of your workforce. So a wider range of labor categories indicates you can support complex and multidisciplinary task orders. That's what they're looking for. So to say labor category breadth, that's why it's called. It's based on how many distinct labor categories, LCATs, appear in your work sample. Shows your ability to support diverse service areas. Maximum points 3,250, 3,250. You receive 65 points per distinct LCAT for a maximum of 50 LCATs. So each LCAT receives 65 points. And remember, this is for all five contracts, but the maximum is 3,250. Documents to prove full labor category listing from task order to CDRL, contract or mod documents with LCATs, mapping documents linking titles to the matrix. And then you can read off the common issues that you should avoid. Now, category 6, breadth of SAO capabilities. This category reflects your breadth of capability. The more core services areas from the SAO you can validate in your work samples, in your contracts, the more points you earn. And they've listed what they want in the SAO depending on the areas. Now, the areas are education and training, management support, program management, engineering and technical, intelligence professional services, and admin and other services. There are, for each of these, they've listed what they want under the SAO, and there are different points. Some of them are 10 points, some of them are 30 points. If you can cite those those requirements, you get either 10 or 30. It's written. I don't want to go into the details of that, But the maximum points that you get out of this is 1,200, again, for all three contracts. Three tiers, all 5 contracts. Okay. Moving forward, so to prove annotated PWS SAO from your contract, so when you're actually providing proof, you have to cite different sections of the PWS or SAO, put a sticky note to prove that you're cross-referencing it. A cross-referencing matrix mapping the SAO areas to tasks performed, government performance review, CPARs highlighting specific capabilities. All of these are acceptable. Now,